Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and I am coming back at you with another Wargaming and miniature video. In today's video, we're going to continue on with our Napoleonic project update. In my latest video, what I did was I laid a bunch of miniatures out on the table, and I showed them off in the entirety, like what I have completed so far. In that collection of the entire Second Corps was these battalions that I'm going to be showing you today. I did the 1st and 2nd Battalion of the 92nd, and I did the 1st and 2nd Battalion of the 93rd. These battalions are part of Foy's division, and these are Old Glory 15 millimeter. This is the 1st Battalion. Now you might notice that there's an extra Voltigeur right there. When I went through and organized all of my miniatures, I put them into bags by battalion. So all I would have to do is pull a battalion out, paint it up, and it would be ready to go. I wouldn't have to organize. I basically organized all the troops ahead of time. It served a couple of purposes. It made it easier for me to divide them up into battalions, but it also helped me determine if I had enough miniatures, enough standard bearers, enough drummers, etc. Right? In this case, I had an extra Voltigeur. Basically, I had a figure that I needed to put in. I could have made him a Grenadier or a Voltigeur. It doesn't matter, but I just decided to make him a Voltigeur. All right, so the way I normally do my battalions, if it's a standard size battalion, 600 men or somewhere in that neighborhood, I do 6 bases. These bases are done in 15 millimeter by 40 millimeter, single rank. And this would be a line formation of 24 figures. I tend to do company bases. So we have a Grenadier base, we have a Voltigeur base, we have a command base, but then we have the individual companies like the blue and the violet and the orange. So that's the way those battalions work. And this is the 1st Battalion. All right, let me go ahead and pull up the 2nd Battalion. All right, now this is the 2nd Battalion. You'll notice that it uses the 2nd Battalion Fanion. I decided that it's really unnecessary for me to trim off all the eagles and make spearheads for my standards. I just decided to go ahead and leave the eagle on there. It doesn't harm anything or hurt anything. Okay, I can see this guy's little, what do they call it, a halberd. I can kind of see that it might be a little bent. I might have to straighten that out. But these are also Old Glory miniatures. They might have come out of multiple different packages. Like I've got the, I bought the starter set, which came with a bunch of different battalions and different figures, all kind of in one large bag. But I also bought the an extra command pack, which had a variety of different command figures. And then I also bought the light infantry, and which isn't necessarily needed here. And then there's also the campaign dress as opposed to the greatcoats. So I kind of intermix them on all my battalions. When I went through all the battalions to organize them with figures. I kind of just piled them up into a big pile of figures and then picked and choosed for each of my battalions until I got all the battalions chosen. These guys paint up really quickly. Okay, another thing. Okay, well, let me just go ahead and pull out. This was the 2nd Battalion of the 92nd. Let's go ahead and pull out the 93rd, and then I'll talk about that topic. And this is the 93rd 1st Battalion. And you'll notice in this battalion I had an extra elite as well. I just went ahead and painted it up as a grenadier. So it's just alternative. So you got your voltigeurs, your grenadiers, and your 4 companies along with the command stand. Now in the command stand, 1st, 2nd, 3rd battalions, what I'm doing is I'm putting the musician, the officer, the standard bearer, and the standard guard. Now I am alternating white versus red paint on the little ribbon, the streamer that's on the halberd, just to let you know, just to give it a little bit of variety. Okay, this is the point I wanted to make about the painting. These guys, even though they look very subtly similar, they're really not. Because take a look at this guy's greatcoat compared to these 2 greatcoats right here. They are not the same color, right? I probably put a little too much effort into that. It probably was totally unnecessary. But what I did was I primed 4 groups of miniatures with different colors, a khaki, a taupe. It's kind of a brown taupe, and then I did a light gray, and I'm trying to remember what the other color was. But yeah, basically there was 4 different greatcoat colors intermixed in these greatcoats. I probably could have got away with just gray and taupe or gray and khaki because the difference, what I'm visualizing is the difference between the taupe and the khaki is too subtle to really worry about making them different. I probably should have just went with 2 colors, the gray and the brown, and been happy with that. You'll also notice that the oilskin covers on their shakos, the shako covers, are also a variety of different colors. I try not to make them the same because there is a little bit of variety in the French at this period. In 1815, the French were not very uniform at the time. They were diverse in their uniformity. If that makes sense. All right. Well, I think these guys look really good. Let me go ahead and bring up the next group. All right. Now, this is the 2nd Battalion of the 93rd. You'll notice basically this. I keep hitting the camera because it's sitting like right here. You'll notice basically the same organization, same command structure. The halberd. Now this guy's got his pistol out, but then we got the standard bearer, the officer, the drummer, and I do a mix and match throughout my different battalions, so they have different poses. Some of these guys actually have pots and pans on their back, which I found pleasantly surprised that there were some figures that actually had that camp materials on them. I hadn't really noticed that on any of the miniatures that I had painted in the past. So I'm happy to see that. Got the Grenadiers, got the Voltigears. Looks like there's an extra Voltigear right there. Threw him in there. Basically, it's a filler. Yeah, so that's the battalion, and the greatcoat primers, the shako cover variety. I probably use about 4 or 5 different colors on shako covers. I use like a green gray on some of them, a khaki, a taupe. I use like a battlefield brown. I use a trader green. I use a variety of different colors on the oilskin covers. And again, this is a 2nd Battalion, which is probably not supposed to have an eagle, but I didn't care. I'm not gonna worry about it. I think the eagles, they come with the miniatures, and I think they look good on the table. Some other thing that I wanted to point out was, you'll notice that I did not use a dark earth. I went ahead and used the medium brown earth, the Vallejo medium brown, so it'll look more, neutral, not dark. And then what I also used was the 2.5 millimeter static grass. So if these figures, they look a little bit more wild grass, the 2 millimeter static grass tends to look more cultivated or like mowed, where the 2.5 with this scale of miniature looks a little bit more like wild grass, and I actually like that look. So I'm going to start using a little bit more of the 2.5 throughout my figures. All right, now since I did that video where I did the figures on parade until now, I actually had finished some more miniatures that I would like to show right now. So let me turn this off. All right, I said I was going to start working on my Allied artillery. I was going to do the British artillery until I realized that the majority of the British artillery that I needed for Quatre Bras are actually foot artillery, and I have the majority of the artillery that I am in possession of is horse artillery. So I went ahead, I had only 1 pack of foot artillery, which is not enough. So I went ahead and ordered 1 additional pack of foot artillery. So it should be coming in soon. And FYI, if you're in the market for 15 millimeter artillery and crew, Old Glory 15 is running a sale on their Napoleonic miniatures. So if you want to do that, go ahead and jump in on that. Now, if you look at these guys, this is a Dutch unit, Bischlebel or Stevenart. It's one of those two. I think Stevenart is the foot artillery and Bischlebel is the horse artillery. But either way, this is the foot artillery, and I can use it as Belgian foot artillery, anywhere. It doesn't have to be that specific battery. I went ahead and decided to do 6 miniatures or 6 crew members per battery. In my rules, I say you can use anywhere from 2 to 4 figures per stand. That's really up to you. And I really shouldn't, that really doesn't even come into bearing at all in my rule set, but it's just a recommendation for like new players that don't know what they're doing. So these are 30 by 40 millimeter bases. 2 of them together represents a medium-sized battery. If I was to include a third stand, then that would be considered a large battery. And if I only used one gun, that would be a half battery, right? Because in some situations, half batteries were deployed. And that's why I went with this. So these miniatures represent somewhere between 3 and 4 guns, right? And then with 2 guns, that's anywhere between 6 and 8 as a battery, which is your standard size battery at that period. Okay, so this is Dutch foot 6-pound. All right, let me get out the next ones. All right, guys, these are also Dutch, but this is their horse artillery. Now, as a disclaimer, these are Old Glory guns as well as the Dutch foot, but the crew members are minifigs. They are not Old Glory. They are minifigs. I ordered them specifically for this purpose. You know, for Quatre Bras, I only needed a few pieces. I didn't need, you know, a whole bag full of Dutch artillery. Plus, I don't think Old Glory has the Allied artillery. I would have to take a look at that and see, but I don't remember seeing them. But either way, I got these from minifigs, and that's what these crews are. But the guns, they're 6-pounders, and I pulled them from the British horse artillery that I had a ton of, because they're using the same guns. Basically, the Allies used the same guns, I was noticing. All right, let me pull out the next ones. All right, more foot artillery, but this time it is Brunswick. We got the Brunswick foot artillery, and again, Old Glory guns, minifig crew. 2.5 millimeter static grass. It's the spring meadow color, which I think is my favorite color for this scale, and you know, it makes the miniatures kind of pop. I could always add things like tufts or rocks or anything like that, but I didn't think that was really necessary. Yeah, and I was noticing that the Allies used the same paint scheme as the British on their guns as well. I was noticing the light gray, the what do you call it? Not the apple. This is like a blue gray. So this is actually not primer. I actually did prime them gray, thinking that was the color I was going to use, but I noticed that the gray primer was just not gray enough, or not blue enough. So I went back in with not field blue. I've got it around here somewhere. Yeah, that's it right there. I went back in with a dark blue gray for the guns, and I think that looks really good. And plus, it's not 100%. I kind of did like a like I touched it up. There's still a lot of the primer gray shining through, but I just kind of like the leg is all primer gray, but you can see that the main housing there is the blue gray. Yeah, it's kind of a two-tone artillery piece, which I think is pretty cool. The Germans, or the Brunswick, I really debated this on whether or not just to paint them black and then kind of like dry brush gray or something like that over them. But I decided against it, and I painted them German uniform gray, or black, or whatever it's called here. I've got that over with my artillery. But basically, it's a Vallejo color, and it's called tanker uniform. And it's really like a dark gray, because I don't want my Brunswickers to be black. I want them to be gray. Their straps are still brown, like a dark brown or burnt umber. You can almost not notice the difference, but they are brown. All right, let me go ahead and bring out the last ones. All right, now these are the Brunswick as well. This is the horse battery. You'll notice the big giant plumes that they're like hussars normally wear, big, or light battalions. Same with the coloring, painting, and all that is pretty much the same when it comes to the two Brunswick. But you will notice that I did use a darker gray for the plume because I wanted it to stand out more. But everything else is pretty much the same as the foot. You'll notice, or at least I noticed, there is quite a variety of poses that come with the minifigs. Like this guy right here, how he's pushing on the gun, and then there's this guy who looks like he's pushing and aiming. There was another guy, like his rod or pole or whatever that is almost vertical, where he's like pushing it forward. And then there's some other poses. Let's get them all out together so I can kind of give you what I'm trying to kind of show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is all 4 of the batteries, and I just want you to see all the different poses that you get. Like this guy, he's got the ammo container that he's digging out. This guy's lighting the fuse. Well, so is that guy. Like he's getting ready to ram it. So is he, and so is he. But they're not all standing in the same. And then he's like over the shoulder, where this guy's underarm, and this guy's got his right arm back, pulling on it. This guy's pulling on the wheels. This guy's pushing on the carriage. This guy's bent over with his pole. This guy's just pushing with his hands, and then like this guy's just standing in weight. Where'd he go? I've lost. Okay. Like he's just standing there waiting. And then this guy's standing there waiting crossed, and you got people carrying ammo in their hands, waiting to load or in the process of loading. There's just so many different poses with these that I was excited about that. That's pretty good. Minifig did a really good job of giving me a variety of different poses. Now, understand that minifig figures are a little bit thinner than Old Glory. I'm just going to throw an Old Glory figure up there. I don't know if you can see the difference in size. Like that figure looks like he's way taller than these guys, but these guys are way bulkier than these guys. It works out really well, I think. Not every one of them, like the Brunswickers and the French, they're almost identically the same size. All right, so thanks for coming out and watching this update. You saw the battalions, which is actually a whole brigade for Foy, 9th Division. And you also saw the Dutch Belgian and the Brunswick Artillery, the foot and the horse. So the Dutch Belgian and the Brunswick Artillery for Quatre Bras are finished. I just need to do their limbers. And then the British, I'm going to wait until I get the foot artillery in before I work on that. So what that means is the next group of figures that I'm working on is the Belgian Light Dragoons and the Dutch Hussars. I'm doing those currently right now. All right, I'll catch you in the next one.